So where did it come from? The founder's name, the creator, is Dr. David Berceli. He lives in Arizona, and he's still very much actively teaching. In this past year, I've taken 3 online courses from Dr. Berceli. And he has a master's in theology, a doctorate in social work. He's a certified neurotherapist. That's where they study the brain. And then also he's a bioenergetics therapist. Bioenergetics was basically in the 80s. It was the very first type of treatment that ever came out, where instead of doing talk therapy for people to deal with stress and trauma, they looked at body techniques, somatic techniques for people to help people process. He's also a certified field traumatologist, which is a new word for a lot of people. So a traumatologist, these are people who are trained to be the first boots on the ground of therapists to come into places like acute settings, war, natural disasters, things of that nature. And they come in as small groups and they help people who are going through these types of things. And before he did all of this, in his younger days, he was a massage therapist. So he really understood the body and anatomy and how things work in that way. And he spent 2 decades living and working in 9 countries, providing trauma relief, places like Kuwait and Sudan. And he worked alongside Mother Teresa for 10 years. He's got some really amazing stories about working with Mother Teresa. And where that all kind of began, where he started to formulate the first beginnings of TRE, was he observed instinctive reaction during mortar attacks, because he would be in bomb shelters with families, the whole family, many, many people in these bomb shelters. And what he noticed was time after time, when the bombs went off, that everybody went into a fetal position. Nobody stood up and went like this. Everybody instinctually went into fetal position. And because of his massage therapy background, he started thinking about, oh, the same muscles keep contracting over and over and over again all the time. And this is where he first started developing things. And then research has been developing for the last 25 years, but that's really where it started. So it's been being practiced for 25 years. It's new to Canada. I don't know how I would have found out about it if I hadn't talked to my friend. I probably still wouldn't know about it, but it's being used in 65 countries. And I was talking to one of my superiors, who's the head of TRE Canada, and I asked her how many people she thought have learned TRE. And David says it's well over 1 million, but it's very hard for us to know because there's so many certified teachers out there teaching it, and then I'm teaching it to others. So how do we really know? But we figure it's well over 1 million. So the 3 criteria that David came up with was that it needed to be easy. So multiple people had to be able to learn at once how to do TRE, because they were coming as a very small group of therapists into this area, and they had to be able to teach maybe 300 people at a time how to do this. So because there was no time to teach one person at a time. So multiple people was a big thing. The second thing was that it had to be a technique that people could continue to do on their own, because obviously when the therapist left, there wasn't going to be any continuing therapy for them. It had to be something that they could continue to do on their own and get a great benefit from it. And then the last criteria was that the exercises had to be easy to do, because they had to be able to be done anywhere, just out in the field, just anywhere. So as a certified provider, I have modifications for all the exercises, but by and large, TRE is accessible to pretty much all people at some level. So that was the 3 criteria that he came up with. So it's being taught all over the world. Brazil, Australia has a lot going on, military, special forces. Actually, I was just talking a couple of days ago with a colleague that I just met on my last training, and she's down in Boulder. And she's a facilitator, a provider, and she had just come from teaching 250 military professionals how to do TRE. So it's really starting to take hold. People are starting to hear about it, but it's certainly not known at all.